Shazam is one of the coolest comic book characters ever. A big reason why superheroes got so popular is because they are a great power fantasy and work of escapism for its readers, and Billy Batson is, in my opinion, the single greatest power fantasy. We all dreamt about having superpowers when we were kids, and Shazam is the literal embodiment of that fantasy. His entire concept and its appeal is immediately understandable. Any kid can instantly get why Shazam is such a cool idea. That's why I never found it that surprising that in the 1940s, Shazam even got to be a more popular comic book character than Superman, simply because young audiences resonated with him so much. It's because of this that I think that the idea of Shazam will always work better in an animated format aimed at all audiences. Animation allows artists to be as imaginative as possible without restrictions. So, as you can imagine, I always love it when I see Shazam adapted into animation, and I think it'd be awesome if he had his own animated series or movie, something that has happened in the past in projects that were materialized, but there are also a number of promising projects which never got off the ground. Back in 1999, writer Paul Dini, who was well known for his work in establishing the DCAU with shows like Batman the Animated Series and Superman the Animated Series, was also working alongside prolific comic book artist Alex Ross to develop and produce an animated show based on Captain Marvel, back when Shazam was still called Captain Marvel, and the Shazam family as well. These are some concept arts made by Alex Ross that he published in his 2003 book, Mythology, the DC Comics art of Alex Ross, and he explained that the art style he chose to use for the show was a mix between the Bruce Timm DCAU art style and the minimalist and simplistic designs of the Powerpuff Girls. And honestly, just by the sound of those influences and knowing that the show was being worked on by Paul Dini and Alex Ross, it instantly sounds amazing to me. And I really like to see Alex Ross doing a more cartoony art style like here. It's something that I've never seen before, since he is mostly well known for his realistic style. So this is something really cool to see. If we go by the artwork that was revealed, the show would have centered around Captain Marvel Billy Batson, Mary Marvel, and Captain Marvel Jr., with help from Mr. Tony and the Wizard, fighting against villains like Dr. Savannah, Black Adam, Mr. Mind, Ibac, and Captain Nazi. And in another concept art, Alex Ross even drew a Superman head bust. So maybe him too, though the book, where these designs come from, also features some Superman designs that Alex Ross drew in the DCAU art style. So he might have done these Superman designs just for fun. A Shazam show in the style of the original Powerpuff Girls sounds like something really promising. And there are two concepts that really mesh well together, so I would have personally loved to see this show be made. Reportedly, Paul Dini and Alex Ross pitched the show to Cartoon Network, and they did show interest in making it, but it ultimately was never greenlit for undisclosed reasons. Paul Dini and Alex Ross would later go on to work on another Shazam project, and they made the great graphic novel Shazam! Power of Hope, which I highly suggest you check out if you can and are interested in reading some Shazam comics. That Shazam cartoon looked very promising, but it isn't the only rejected animated pitch that we know of. These are some designs made by illustrator Matt Koffenberg that he made in the early 2010s for an animated project that was being pitched to Warner Brothers but that never went through in the end. He made designs for Billy Batson, Shazam, Black Adam, and Dr. Savannah with quotation marks because he looked more like a school janitor than a doctor in this concept art. And there was also another pitch to Warner Brothers Animation for a Shazam animated series made by animation director and artist Jake Castanera, which had a very beefy looking Shazam, but it was also rejected. Jake Castanera, however, did end up directing an episode of Justice League Action called Shazam Slam, which, as you can imagine, focused on Shazam, so that's pretty nice. Beyond that, Shazam has had previous animated and live-action projects that did end up being made, despite them being mostly short-lived. In 1973, Filmation produced a live-action Shazam TV show featuring Billy Batson traveling the US in an RV solving crimes across the country, and the show later on crossed over with another superhero show, which I really don't want to say its name, just in case. It was ultimately cancelled after 2 seasons, but Filmation also made a Shazam animated series in 1981 called The Kid's Superpower Hour with Shazam, which ran for 38 episodes before being ultimately cancelled. But they got to adapt classic characters from the comics like the Shazam family, Black Adam, Dr. Savannah, Mr. Atom, and many more. Another project which I really wanted to bring up are the DC Nation Shazam shorts, which were made around 2012. DC Nation was a programming blog that aired on Cartoon Network and featured many animated shorts based on DC characters, and Shazam got 3 shorts made that were really great in my opinion. They had a fantastic art style inspired by old theatrical cartoons from the 1930s, inspired by the Max Fleischer rubber hose style of animation, and they pulled off the style really well. I would have loved to see these shorts get fleshed out and become a full series. I'm gonna leave links to the shorts in the description so you can check them out. So it's clear that Shazam's animated potential is there and it's untapped. DC could make a fantastic show filled with imaginative, charming, and really wholesome stories based on Shazam and his rich mythology. Whether they wanted to make it more serious and action-heavy or more comedic and light-hearted, it could still really work either way, either as an ongoing show or an animated movie. Personally, I've always wanted to see an animated movie based on the graphic novel Shazam and the Monster Society of Evil, written by Jeff Smith. I would really love to see that. In the meantime, if you still really want to see a cool animated Shazam adaptation, I highly suggest you check out The Return of Black Adam. It's an animated short movie made back in the early 2010s that's really great, and of course the live action movies are very good representations of the source material. But let's hope that eventually we'll see a full-on animated series that fully adapts and goes deep into the Shazam lore, because there's a lot, and I mean a lot, of untapped potential there.